I can't tell you now, but 3. So we have Goon Eternal and Pizza and Helldivers before Illuminate. This is the big post where the devs confirmed the future of Helldivers 2. So, on November 14th, I guess this is 6 days old. I didn't even know this was out. People just sent it to me. At the G-Star conference held in Bexco, Busan, the 2 heads of Arrowhead Studios developers, Johan Pilestad and Shams George Weenie, gave lectures. The topics of the lectures were made by Johan Pilestad, who moved from CEO to CCO, and Shams, who took over as the new CEO. Okay? So, if you're unaware of who these guys are, Joel, you got Pilestad, you got Shams, and then you got Alexis in the cellar, bro. If you watched the Nordstrom presentation with us, you know about the cellar. If you don't, this is where they put their devs who need to work a little bit harder. All right, this was so cursed. Helldivers 2 is a blockbuster hit, question mark. This is a direct translation. So this is translated in Korean, and because I'm dyslexic, it wraps it all together. It makes sense. So this was a blockbuster hit. 75. Did it really have 750 concurrent users? There's no way, dude. That's a lot. I wonder how many it's going to be when the Illuminate comes out. What are you guys thinking? I'm thinking it'll probably hit like 150 because the balance update was like 75. I think we probably hit like 150, bro. It'll be more than Concord, probably. All right. The problem was that in the following months, all sorts of incidents and accidents occurred, causing gamers' reactions to hit rock bottom. As a gamer who experienced this period, it was not an easy topic to accept. However, I remember when we went over everything and they were like, we want to make a milsim game with weapons that have bloom. And I was like, okay, that's crazy. And we still don't have the review bomb cape, by the way, which we should have gotten on Liberty Day. Kind of cringe. More detailed stories with us. So changes in Helldivers 2 since release. There are so many initial evaluations that it may seem small, but the number is large. Right? This looks a little more red. Guys, just saying, Escalation of Freedom was so bad that we refused to play bugs and then we exclusively played bots. That's when we crashed on bots all the time. That's what burnt everybody out, right? We played the Nuke Seed, which is Berserkers. So we played against Berserkers and Hulks. And then they did a hotfix where we started crashing. And then the next patch, Hulks had fucking laser cannons. Because they don't play... The playtesters for Helldivers 2 are the definitive problem with the game. Any person with a remote amount of competence can load into the game. And like understand that like the DSS, for instance, the orbital bombardment was going to be bad. Because even like solo, it was annoying and bad. And then in a group, it was the worst experience ever. And then the Eagle Strafe was like fine. But it's still like a play. I don't know, man. It's just like the feedback isn't there. So we're going to be doing balanced feedback as well with this. So after the lecture, I sat down with them 2 separately. And they've been cursed countless times in the domestic community. What is it? So like the community cursing the devs. You know what I mean? Like they're like, oh, the devs suck, whatever. You know what I mean? Unironically, I think that the visual and the art team do a really good job on the game. And I do think that they are doing a good job with the weapon balance now. And I actually think that the weapon balance in the game now is the best that it's ever been. And the game is in the best place that it's ever been balance-wise. Like, it's insanely fun. They did do a bad job, and now they're doing a good job. And if they keep doing a good job consistently, then that's all I want. You know what I mean? If all of the weapons eventually become good and fun to use, like that's all we need. I know people are like in the doomer opinion about Helldivers right now, but I think that the balance is good. If they fixed my bot crashing issue, I would probably have little to no negatives outside of ragdolling from rocket striders and barrage tanks and spawns. Like, I want the game to be harder. And the only way they need to make the game harder is to spawn more chaff. Right? And they need to stop thinking that armor is the difficulty slider. They don't play the game and they're spawning too much armor. All they need to do is increase the amount of light chaff chasing you down, and people would actually just fail every mission. You got to remember bug patrols. Like, people could not beat missions on bug patrols, bro. Right? They were crashing out. They're like, oh, this game sucks. And I agree that it should have been like that on the low tiers. But on the highest tier, it was insanely fun. We were killing 4,000 to 5,000 bugs a game. One mistake was like 20 hunters jumping on you and you instantly died. And that was hard because one charger comes at you with 40 hunters, and that's actually a situation that's hard to deal with. Doesn't matter what stratagems you have, doesn't matter what you're doing. That's a difficult situation that is like stun grenade, and probably bring like a flamethrower or the OG fire shotgun, or you're cooked. And it was really, really fun. And it was really, really hard. So like when we talk about all the weapons being fun playable, that's the direction they should go with the game. And then they just up the amount of light chaff, like it's GG. Like that's what it needs. And people, I was talking to some people about the bots. If they just had like, let's just say each patrol of bots had like 20 soldiers, couple devastators, it would be it would be super hard to deal with. First of all, the regular troopers regularly delete you, right? Like a more diverse patrol sets would actually make the game super hard. And like people don't realize that like when I was rewatching my VODs, rocket troopers and machine gun troopers absolutely cook you. And one thing they do better than anything else is chip damage you over and over again. They do it better than devastators. They do it better than rocket striders. And because if there was so many of them, the game would be insanely hard. But you would be killing like 2,000 to 3,000 bots by the end of the game, maybe 4,000 bots. And you would have such a fun time playing through the mission that like you'd be constantly taking that chip damage, right? And I know chip damage feels like a cheap difficulty slider, but when you're killing thousands of enemies and randomly slowly getting chipped down, when you have like the whole screen of lasers coming at you, actually feels pretty good. So like when Bug Patrols was happening and we had that happen on the bots, that was fun and it was really hard. This happened in one of my first Malevolon Creek videos. I'm running along and there's like, I come around this forest line and there's 50 bots standing there in like rows, like stormtroopers. And I just started blasting them and a wall of lasers came at me and rockets. And like, I took like half my health and damage. I didn't get ragdoll spammed. I didn't get cooked. I didn't die instantly. And then I had to do it again and again. And I was like, damn, this is like really, really fun. In real life, when you talk about what makes a tank dangerous, right? Why would a tank be dangerous? Well, that's because there's a bunch of infantry supporting it. A tank with that infantry support is essentially worthless. And that's the same thing that's happening in Helldivers too, is you have a bunch of these like high value enemies that don't have any support. So they just get steamrolled. If they just made the game that made sense, then supporting the armor with chaff would make the game almost impossible. And that's what we need. We need like thousands of enemies, of just trash enemies. But they have to fix the crashing on the bots, which is enemies not despawning correctly, and then smoke. I know everybody has opinions about like what it should be, but I think we're all mainly in agreement that Bugged Patrols was really difficult for the vast majority of people, and it was insanely fun, and the game did not crash. Question. I listened to the lecture well, from the initial success of the release to the dark period that followed. I think we just covered that entire era. And now that it has barely recovered, it's been a little less than 10 months. You said you have overcome many worries and difficulties during the live service period. What was the most difficult challenge among them? It was not easy to clearly define each person's role during the production stage before Helldivers. Arrowhead was given a fairly small organization, so the development process was quite free. However, as the organization grew, the difficult thing was the process of coordinating it. Previously, the attention paid to our games was different than it is now. So there was cases where problems were discovered several months after the game was released. And even if the process of handling them was somewhat delayed, it wasn't a big problem. Like they used to release stuff in Helldivers 1 and not fix it, right? I think that's what that's referring to. Because nobody'd know. They have too many sweats now. Sweats ruin everything. However, now we have to work with a high level of completion as the standard from the beginning, and the development period of the game itself has become longer. It's not a simple problem in the game development process. The process of changing everything to achieve this level of weight has been a big challenge in itself. To use an analogy, if the previous game development process was like slowly cooking food for us to eat at home, now we have to, he's cooking Showdown again, bro. In a situation where there are more customers and orders than we expect, for example, in the case of warbonds, the release interval we initially assumed was 4 weeks. However, the game grew larger. We thought there were more things to take care of. We realized it was impossible to make in 4 weeks. So we have increased the interval to 6 weeks, but even 6 weeks is not perfect. If we took more time or had more people, the results would be better, but hiring people is also a task. In the process of the work structure organization changed significantly in the past, so it's work handed down from the top, process to the bottom. Now we ask the team what direction they want to go. We have learned that it doesn't matter how hard they try to release something perfect, it's going to be broken. Why not activate a moon base and then have all the stuff that's in development and testing on the moon base, and then you can have people go to the base, test the weapon out in like a firing range, and then add like, the ability to be like spawn a charger, spawn an enemy, and then you could do full weapon testing right there. Get massive feedback from all your player base and all your super sweaty creators that want to print views. And then at the same time, just be open about it. Be like, yeah, we're going to test stuff doing this, but we're going to try and build it into the story for fun, right? And then you get the best of both worlds. Everybody's having fun testing the new stuff. They get proper feedback on everything, or a lot of feedback at least. After the DSS incident with the orbital barrage, we know that the playtesting isn't happening, right? At least in a degree that is valuable for the long-term health of the game. If it's going to be broken anyways, like the Airburst rocket launcher was when it came out, then it's, or in the mechs, right? Like, just have beta mech, and you use the beta mech, and it blows itself up with the rockets, and then you're like, well, okay, I guess we have to. Things don't have to be perfect, and the problem is this has a like way larger lead on dev time, so like it just takes so much longer to get everything out, and the thing is, it's still not getting fixed. You know what I mean? Until they have this massive feedback after it's out. I think that if it's going to be broken anyways, because the QA's not there, then it should just release so that it can get QA'd by the player base. And then we just have a lot of broken stuff that doesn't work, but we already have a ton of stuff that's awesome and does work. It's not like the game was when it launched. We have a ton of stuff. At the same time, we're also paying more attention to the process of listening to the community. We know that's factually true. In fact, this is the most important thing. As I mentioned in the lecture, we realized the ups and downs of 10 months that we need to focus on the community and listen to the gamers. Before we started the 60-day update until August update, we really didn't know. We didn't know why the game was going. We didn't know why the game was going in a bad direction, and we were stuck in the thought we're lost now. So I had to clean my glasses real quick. That's the craziest thing I've ever read, bro. We didn't know why the game was going in a bad direction, and we were stuck in the thought that we're lost now. How do what? Wow, guys, we nerfed everything for like 5 months straight. Why is everybody so upset? Oh, we released the worst update ever that completely broke the game and made it ragdolling ridiculously annoying and broke all the enemies. Shucks, I wonder what happened. Didn't they pre-nerf fire right before they released fire weapons? Yes, they pre-nerfed fire right before they dropped the fire warbond, and then they wondered why the game wasn't doing good. Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? Here's the thing. I think that public test servers are bad for games. I think that the problem with public test servers is you have a bunch of the like really sweaty people who are fucking terrible at the game giving feedback. I'm serious about this. I think that anytime I see a game with a PTR, the game ends up in a worse place over time. Every single time, and it's never failed. Every single time. Because your casuals don't go play, your average players don't go play. It's the sweaty players that can only use the best possible builds on not even the hardest difficulty to even play. And then they go play this shit. It's like, you got to think about this. The same people that would say the Liberator Carbine is good would go play PTR and then say that it's fine. So, like, you have to actually think about that. Those are the same people that give that feedback, and the majority of people that play those PTRs are those people. So, like, you got to think, if Armory Chat went and played PTR and gave Armory Chat feedback on PTR, and then we had Armory Chat Helldivers 2, which we had, the game would quite literally, we've seen this already, it would die. Carbine is good, though. Okay, dude. Okay, dude. The 60-day update was a really surprising process. I was surprised when they announced that they would fix the game for 60 days. This is the question. And when I saw the deals, the patch notes, as a result, it's a very enjoyable game now, but it must have been a big risk for the CCO and CEO. Can you tell me how to make this decision process? Shams. In early August, we did the escalation of frustration update. Up until this point, we thought we had made quite a few changes because we were in a hurry to solve problems that had popped up rather than adding something new. But even if this was not well received, no, to be honest, it was a hopeless response. So we put our heads together and thought about it. What is fun, and what kind of fun can we provide? As we discussed this, we realized that we couldn't properly define what kind of fun Helldivers 2 could provide, and the bigger problem was that we weren't looking at the answer sheet. That is the opinions of the community, since we didn't answer their conversations. Gamers talked about themselves in the process, their dissatisfaction grew. So this is the 60-day notes in Korean. We reviewed all these comments, complaints, and prioritized tasks that we had to solve first. Adding new weapons, mechanics, and stratagems were necessary, but they were pushed back. Fair. To be honest, we admit that, but what's the point of adding something new when the game is broken? That's literally one-to-one what our balance doc says, by the way. The most important thing was to get the game back to normal, so we calculated the required time to work for this, and we announced that we'd about 60 days to fixing it, and asked for Sony's cooperation. This process was not easy, but somehow we got it done. After that, we discussed in depth with designers about fantasy, philosophy, and balance of each weapon instead of balancing it from the zero-sum game where everything is reduced to a low average. How do you balance around reducing things? Okay, so, like, I know that this is Google translated, but, like, balancing around a low average is fucking crazy. I mean, they don't do it anymore, but it's like, what? How is that even the base philosophy? Low average weapons. Get out of here, dude. For example, the assault rifle we discussed. How many shots does it take from a regular assault rifle to kill a Terminator? After, is what it is. After discussing the issue on the team members, we said if a 5.56 rifle, 4 to 5 rounds would be realistic. But in reality, the game would require 8 rounds, and it was far from the ideal number we had in mind. After that, we gradually changed all the weapons to a form that could actually meet the expectations that gamers would have. The process was repetition of changes, modifications, and changes for modifications. We repeated this every day until we felt the game was more fun when it was released. In the process, we also noticed that some weapons were being used too much. Oh boy. Flamethrowers and support weapons were hardly used. Fair. This was largely a problem in terms of game design, since anti-tank firepower was greatly required as the difficulty level increased. Gamers who wanted the game to be above a certain difficulty level could not take the equipment they wanted, so we set a principle. If you have the right weapon for the right situation, you should be able to solve it easily without having to aim or handle it accurately, and proceeded with the update. Among anti-tank equipment, only certain anti-tank is not used a lot, and if it is only included in the anti-tank category, it can easily be resolved. Here's the thing. They nerfed the top end and created a toxic meta by forcing you to use the worst stuff that already wasn't very good or working correctly. So it's like, it made the game feel worse to play back then, right? And it's like, you're confused why the game got bad. It's like, because the balance philosophy was terrible. I hope that they figured it out now, because it's like, you just did something that's good. Do you guys think that they're still confused on why the game's succeeding? Even after they did the 60-day plan, do you think that they know to make things fun, cool, and interesting over anything else now? Or do you think that things are just going to continue to release bad, and then they have to make them fun, cool, and interesting later? They don't. They 100%. Yes, they don't know what they're doing. Okay, they have no idea. Okay, that's valid. Can you explain the current balance philosophy of Arrowhead? One of our development philosophies that we've had for a long time is a game for everyone is not a game for anyone. A game for everyone is a game for no one. That's what the statement is. When we're going through a period of stagnation, we forgot this philosophy and tried to balance mechanically, but now have similar thoughts in terms of balance. For example, there are many types of players in HG2. In the case of Shams, he is closer to a so-called dad diver who plays the game a little more lightly. And in my case, he is closer to the core gamer. The same goes for the developers. When we look at the balance of each weapon, each gamer and developer can have different POVs. Here we decided who we should focus on for the balance, and the current standard set is to the extent at which all weapons can be applied happily in any situations, to make all weapons feel somewhat OP. But it's like, it's not that each weapon needs to be OP, it's that everything needs to feel fun to use, right? For example, the Arma series and Call of Duty series are both popular shooters with a large number of gamers, but the direction of fun that the two games aim for is completely different. This is what we lost during our difficult times and was the definition of what fun is. So at this point, we're aiming for a level where you can play the game. If you choose a random loadout, you'll have to be careful your loadout at diff 10, but at 7 to 8, be clear the game. You know, I could debate this one, but this might be an anomaly. So it is what it is. Shams. I personally really like SMGs, but at this point, there's no SMG that can be used against heavy armor. Even the most recent SMGs added aren't really single-handed, so to solve this, we need to add more game mechanics or content. But as you know, up until now, we've been more focused on solely solving problems that existed before. Be able to call SMGs. Did it use with both hands? Thinking about it, it would be pretty cool to be able to use an SMG with both hands. This was already in the game when they did this interview. Also, an SMG killing heavy armor isn't something I want in the game. So our developers satisfied the balance. Compared to before, we're satisfied and happy. One of our team's coders, a guy named Linus, we call him Minus, always brings up a lot of mind stratagems to every game. It may seem like a ridiculous loadout, but I think this is the fun of Helldivers too. Yeah, Minus, let's go, dude. Domain expansion minefield.
Oh, don't forget. No.
Holy sh-
What the strategies are and how they're going to figure out how to get a foothold in this new difficulty.
The triangle. We know what hole that goes into,
triangle.
right?
Triangle.
That's right. The square hole.
If I worked at a fucking place like this, bro, and I used the stratagem all the time and it sucked dick, I would slip into the game files. Kind of like how they slip hidden nerfs into the game all the time. I would be slipping hidden buffs in, bro. There'd be one day where the anti-tank mine just did 10,000 damage at like every single one of them. And they'd be like, wow, anti-tank mines are crazy this update, bro. You know? So that's right. To be honest, it doesn't mean much, but isn't the charm of this game that you can just throw 4 orbital napalm stratagems in one place and stare blankly? Yeah, that's true. That is unironically, throwing 4 orbital napalms is the most satisfying thing I've done in a game in a while. Same thing with 4 orbital gatlings when it rips the audio, and 4 380s is awesome. To be honest, it's cool. So we are happy to see each gamer create a concept, create their own unique loadout, and sometimes bring ridiculous equipment. Watching each player voluntarily create more fun play is a happy scene that we'd love, that we wouldn't have dared to hope for in the past. Speaking of balance, when we were doing the 60-day update, that strengthened the overall firepower. The designers were worried that there will be too many flocking to the 10th difficulty after the update. Desirable difficulty distribution is normal distribution that bulges in the middle, but they were worried that the results would be skewed to one side. In the end, we closed it to difficulty 6 and 7 would still account for huge. Of course, there are many levels 10s, but most people play diff 7. I remember all of the feedback from bug patrols was people saying that they just got overwhelmed. That would instantaneously fix a game. If you wanted a difficulty slider, we just need to kill 4,000 to 5,000 enemies a game. Next thing you know, GG. It's over. I know some people would be like, oh, but I don't want to kill all the enemies. I just want to like walk through the mission and play walking simulator. So that's fine. Tier 5 exists, bro. Go have fun. Also, this unique loadout thing makes me smile. It's so small. He's playing a level 5, dude. With an incendiary breaker and a supply backpack. That's crazy. Holy dude. We're power gaming tier 5, guys. We're power gaming tier 5, dude. Yo, we're tier 5, bro. We're locked in on this tier 5, guys. That's crazy, dude. The arrow is these days you can beat even 10 if you have the right amount of rise. I've tried it myself many times. Arrow up, level 5. Yeah, dude. You know what I think about this, bro? This is like the majority of YouTube comments, the majority of Reddit comments, and the majority of feedback on the game. I play difficulty 10 all the time. Statistics show that most people play level 7. True, dude. True. Now let's talk about the future, not the past. From a gamer's perspective, there are many gamers who have already completed all the upgrades and equipment unlocks and are hoarding resources. Can you tell us that new progression? This is a topic we're thinking about the most right now. Weapon attachments, bro. Shams, we already know that there's a lot of gamers who completed progress. At this point, we're focusing on creating content that gamers can immerse themselves in. As of November 14th, the DSS has been activated, and gamers with a lot of resources can invest their resources. More features will be activated next week. We'll continue to add more player participation. The problem I have with the voting system on the DSS is it's just like way too much like real life. It's a social experiment. This is like real life. It's not great. The problem is too, I loaded in and I was like, damn, where can I send the DSS? And then I saw like 80% vote. And I'm like, oh, that must be the right choice. That was not the right choice. That was not the right choice. But I clicked it. That was my first vote ever, right? So I was part of the problem, guys. After playing on the DSS for the first time, the only thoughts in my smooth little brain were that I would really wish I could send this to Meridia, the black hole. In addition to this, we're also proposing crossover collabs with other IPs. We don't want to do too many crossovers, but we're considering appropriate collabs that fit the game's atmosphere. For example, Power Rangers would be difficult. Maybe, dude, we get Power Rangers and we call Formexin and then combine Voltron. What are you thinking about crossovers IPs? Nothing's been decided. We're considering things like please don't do Warhammer. I don't want the war. Don't do Warhammer, bro. Don't do it. It's not worth it. Alien seems like a good theme. What would be good? We already got Acid Blood. IPs like StarCraft, Starship Troopers. Starship Troopers would be okay. I think bringing the Zerg from StarCraft would be good, and bringing the Terran Marine weapons would be good too. What do you guys think would be good crossovers? I think something like a destroyer model is possible. Oh, you know what'd be cool is a skin for a super destroyer. So yeah, maybe some kind of ship thing. So it'd be nice to change the destroyer skin or the Pelican skin to a drop ship. The important thing is that it fits the game called Helldivers. It has to be an IP that players are familiar with, but it shouldn't interfere with the fantasy. I agree with that. So I think it's important to choose the right IP. The armor and weapons of StarCraft are really cool, but you'd have to think whether they fit into a Blizzard game or Helldivers. Yeah, I think we could kind of add whatever weapon. It wouldn't matter. Armor-wise, also could pretty much add whatever you want. Wouldn't matter. So yes, I think we're being very careful and cautious when applying any skin or cosmetic. For example, if I like a skin, I don't want it to ruin my game experience for my teammates. So this happened in Lost Ark. They called it the Makoko Apocalypse, by the way, because there was too many Makoko skins. Okay? So memes are okay, but too many is stupid. You don't want too many. So yeah, I agree with that. I would like some skins, but I don't want it to be too crazy. I want it to be I want it to be on brand and on lore. You know what I mean? We've discussed a cosmetic system in the past where the gamers see changes. For example, in the case of Dota 2, when applying a map skin, the user's map will appear to have changed, but others will see it as a default map. However, this was rejected because it caused confusion during the game. Turn object one person talk about appear differently. Whatever. It may be possible to change gunfiring sounds at the local level. Tell us about the Illuminate. They were banished from the galaxy 100 years ago. They're never coming back. Sorry, guys. Illuminate canceled. You're wrong. Never coming out. Those guys will never be forgotten. Fortunately, they were completely banished, so they're probably not coming back. But if they do, it'd be a big problem. Officially, Super Earth doesn't recognize the existence of undemocratic aliens. So I understand your sentiment as a Democrat. Then can you tell me about the wheeled vehicles, armored vehicles, or reconnaissance vehicles? Super Earth is conducting experiments to improve the mobility of Helldivers. We saw the car in the game and the APC in like March. Remember those leaks? However, it's too dangerous to send equipment to the battlefield. Vehicles are too expensive. Super Earth is sensitive to the economics of the battlefield, doubts diving skills of Helldivers, of course. It would be fun to put our Helldivers in a vehicle running around shooting guns. So every time they've RP'd in an interview, that's what's coming out, by the way. Every time they've RP'd in an interview. So we can assume that we're getting the car. Maybe? Or like something to drive around in. Hopefully it's not another shitty mech. I'm not sure if Helldivers are old enough to drive. They are close to 18, but not yet. So we're playing a bunch of 17-year-olds killing thousands of bugs. That's good to know. Come to think of it, my Helldiver couldn't save more than 50,000 super credits. I guess the cars are quite expensive. The car will probably cost around 55,000 credits. Could you imagine the backlash this would actually cause, guys? On a more serious note, vehicle updates are in the plans. It will be added soon, but I don't think it'd go in more detail than that. Many people are hoping for are probably on our roadmap. It's just not happening right now. We've been looking at the community every day since our fiasco. Nice. And we're considering anything that's not too outrageous. I think a lot of people were frustrated with us not commuting it, and they turn into Chaos Divers. They literally haven't communicated since they finished the 60-day plan. You guys do realize that, right? So we're thinking about how to incorporate the Chaos Divers into the game right now. That would be crazy, dude. Imagine PvP, like you have one guy controlling the enemies. That would be cool. The negative reviews were heartbreaking, but looking back, I think it was a blessing that gamers spoke out and acted that way. I'm grateful that the gamers are satisfied. You could probably like go see what happened with the DSS and understand that people are not happy, but okay. I'm always grateful and continue to provide great updates that will make us forget about all the disappointing things we've shown so far. Just one last thing. There are 3 big ones to come soon. 3? Right, 3. I can't tell you now, but 3. HD2 is the meme we are so back on a 3-month repeat. 3 big updates coming soon. Like, when is soon, right? They go on vacation, and soon's before vacation. I'm just going to assume big balance patch, the car update, and a warbond. That's what I'm assuming the 3 things we'll get, because we could get that realistically before Christmas. But they did meme about Illuminate, so maybe. Okay, so you make a lot of sense saying that. Dropping the 3rd faction with massive game bugs and then going on vacation sounds like exactly what's going to happen.